Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is our special show on budget stocks that you need to watch out for under NDAnomics 3.0. And today on this edition, our focus is going to be on the renewable space, especially the power sector, the solar sector, all of this green energy space that has been abuzz with all the action and of course is likely to see a lot of action from the government in the upcoming budget as well. Remember, there was a lot of discussion and also some commitments that the government has already pronounced, and the goal of reaching net zero by 2070, which is already a large target to achieve. Now, the government had already announced various new initiatives encouraging sustainable energy, electric mobility, even an interim budget of 2025, and now all eyes are on the upcoming budget. And therefore, we are likely to understand, what could be on the top government's agenda this time around with respect to this entire space. And does that focus also bring in for you as an investor a lot of opportunity to scout for such stocks that are within the renewable space as well? Now, to help us understand what are the big expectations from the upcoming budget and which stocks should be on your radar ahead of the budget within this renewable space, joining in with me is our special guest today. Mr. Vinit Bolinjkar joins in, the head of equity research at Ventura Securities, and also with me is our colleague Chetan Bhutani. Good afternoon and warm welcome to you, sir. Good morning and welcome to you, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time out, Vinit. But first up, let me quickly go ahead and ask Chetan right there as to what could be on the agenda in the upcoming budget with respect to this space. So Chetan, interim budget, like I said, the 2024 interim budget did focus on the renewable energy theme. So tell us what the industry wants and what is the government likely to do as far as allocations are concerned for this sector in the upcoming budget.
Well, Sakshi, you absolutely correctly pointed out that, the interim budget in fact focused on the renewable energy scheme. But yes, in fact, this time around the industry and the government are on the same page, because remember, the focus around this time will be on two major parts of renewable energy scheme, which will be the wind energy and solar energy. Remember, this interim budget announced an allocation of about 75,000 crore rupees to bring solar rooftop to 1 crore households. Well, the industry is now expecting that certain import duty restrictions on solar cells to be reduced. In fact, the industry is also wanting to have green budgeting across all the key government departments across India to prepare and make a roadmap for the green initiatives. In fact, there's a report that says about 3 trillion capex is required for the next 2 years. In fact, what needs to be taken into account, Sakshi, is that fact is a very simple number. It's 500 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity by 2030. This is what the government really wants to do. So, in order to achieve that, they have to, in fact, do a lot of allocation, a lot of budgeting for it. In fact, because my sources are telling me in the government that the government might, in fact, give out a double-digit allocation for the renewable energy space, which will be a big boost. Because in the past we have seen allocation in single-digit, but now the government is looking at a double-digit allocation. In fact, the government has also introduced a scheme because in order to support those energy schemes for wind energy, remember my sources are also telling me that a viability gap funding scheme is also in works to support wind energy. In fact, increased allocation along with budgetary capital expenditure. These 3 to 4 things are likely to give a big boost to the upcoming, in the upcoming budget to the renewable energy space. So 3 to 4 things is what my sources are telling me, and in fact, the government and the energy and the capitals are on the same page.
Okay, got that. Well, thank you so much, Chetan, for bringing that out to us. Now, let's begin the discussion on, where exactly should investors be keeping their focus. So, first up, Vinit, you also heard what Chetan is talking about. What are the big agenda and what could be coming in? Are you also looking at renewable space with an interesting eye, keeping in mind that the government could actually be looking at increasing the allocation, capital outlay here, and probably focus on a lot more projects going forward?
See, that is the need of the hour, right? We have to, if we want to be signatories to the protocol of, going net zero by 2070, we cannot afford to lose even a single day. So there are, 5 aspects to this. Obviously, one are the generators, 2 is the financiers, 3 is the suppliers, and 4 is the ancillaries, right? I think all these segments are going to see a lot of allocation, a lot of encouragement and a lot of schemes being plowed by the government. And there are interesting plays in every each of these segments of renewable energy that I've spoken to you about. And so, to my mind, you should be investing here very, very aggressively, because not only is renewable energy part of the, providing clean energy to you, but it is also part of the green hydrogen scheme. And to my mind, this green hydrogen opportunity is not only relegated to India, but also globally, because India is going to be one of the lowest cost producers of hydrogen going ahead. And we have got the largest, segment of geographical space that allows you to tap this renewable as well as green, uh, wind energy.
Right. So that's the overview that you have shared with us, that this is the space that makes sense for the government to really keep on their top radar as the upcoming budget seems to be. Now let's break this segment down, because renewables is again a huge sector. Like you also pointed out, there are several kind of companies that are listed, and we need to find out how to approach and where exactly could the maximum benefit really come in. So let's address it one by one. Let's talk about solar space first, because this again has been the government has been vocal about it. About 1 crore households with the rooftop solar systems, and viability gap funding for offshore wind projects totaling about 1000 megawatts was already something that was talked about. Will this get a further leg up? So solar specifically, how should one be really looking at? Are there enough and more opportunities for investors here, and who stands to benefit the most?
So, rooftop solar, obviously, Tata Power is one of the prime beneficiaries. If you talk of solar cells and manufacturing, you have many companies out there. There's Insolation Energy, there's Wari, which is going to get listed. Uh, in terms of solar generation, we have Adani Green, which is there. So, these are some of the names that crop up for solar. And in addition to this, implementation of solar, we are looking at the ESP companies. So we are looking at SW Solar being one of the, companies which is linked to, which is where Reliance has got a stake. And that also seems to be a very good stock to look at.
Okay, so that's as far as solar is concerned. Let's come to wind now. And just like how I said, the viability gap funding of offshore wind projects totaling 1000 megawatts already announced here. There's a lot of buzz around that mergers, consolidations could be in the offing as far as winds are concerned. A lot of large conglomerates are now coming into this space and looking to get the better of the pie right here. Are the existing players good enough? Will we see more opportunities from bigger conglomerates here? How are you really approaching the wind space? And in comparison to solar, how is this space going to be within the priority list of the government in the upcoming budget?
So I think there is going to be more priority given to wind, because wind energy implementation has been lagging, and with the viability gap funding, we will see more of it execution expedited. And here I think uh, Suzlon Energy and Inox Wind are the key players which stand to benefit significantly. Also, the other ancillary players like Sangi Earth Movers and the other companies which help in implementation of these are going to be some of the very big beneficiaries.
Okay, got that. Now, apart from this, where else do you look for benefit? Do you think financiers is something that one should be really looking at? Because when these newer projects are announced, when the capital outlay is done, when the industries start to increase their capacities, the major thing will be on how to fund these big projects. And this is not going to be an allocation for a year or two, because this is going to be, like you said, that 2070 is the target. So one will really have a very, very long-term view with respect to the capacities that they would want to build over the next few years. So financiers, should one be looking at renewable energy financiers as well?
Definitely. So Power Finance, REC, and IREDA are some of the names that crop up. These are the focused energy players, and PFC and REC are also upping their game in terms of funding of renewable energy. So I think these three stocks are looking good. While IREDA is the fancy of the market, I believe that PFC and REC are extremely cheap and offer good value for investors.
I'm interested with this word that you said they are still cheap, because I was about to ask you, they've already had a dream run in the past, and many viewers would still say that, you know, probably we may have missed the best of the run up, even though they are largely around 500 rupees or both PFC and REC. But how are the valuations placed? And for somebody looking at this renewable energy from a 3, 5 year, 10 year perspective, should they really go out there and buy it at any level that they can?
So, I think PFC below 525, REC below 530, 540 are great picks. So, if you want to look at a window where you would like to accumulate the stocks, I think these levels currently in the market are very reasonable prices to get in, considering the fact that, we have a long road ahead of us. In fact, both these companies will grow their AUM books by 15 to 18% over the next 3 years compounded CAGR.
Okay, got that. Let's also discuss within renewables the entire space of even electric mobility. Do you think that will also be on top of the radar of the government in the upcoming budget? This government has been continuously focusing about electrification till 2030. We do not know how far have we gone in. Hybrid seems to be taking over more than EVs, but there are more and more players that are definitely getting into it. Now we are talking about e-bikes, e-scooters, even e-SUVs coming in, and of course the ancillaries which supply to this space are also growing, far and they're rallying properly far and beyond. How are you really looking at tapping this space to the best of possibility?
So, we like the bus space is the most important, local transport. There, two stocks that come to mind are going to be Ashok Leyland and Tata Motors. I think they have the ability to cater to the market and the government's requirements of almost 8 to 10 lakh buses over the next by 2030. Only these players can cater to the demand. There are other players also there. I would not like to name them, but I think delivery execution is a key variable out here, because the fines that you can get imposed on can take you to the cleaners. So rather be focused on these two companies. Apart from that, if you look at the PV manufacturers, I think Tata Motors was early in the game, but the other players are also catching on. And I think M&M and Maruti are going to be the late starters in this segment.
And what about the ancillaries which supply the EV parts? Are they going to be interesting to watch?
Definitely. So we like Minda Corp, Minda. There is Motherson, Samvadan, Motherson Sumi. These are some of the top stocks that come to mind.
Okay. Anything else with respect to the ambit of renewables that could be important to watch out for from an investor's point of view, that what should keep an eye out on right ahead of the budget?
Yeah, so I think green hydrogen is where one should focus on, and there the electrolyzer space looks very interesting.
Okay.
L&T has said that from the second half they're going to start off with the manufacture of electrolyzers, which are going to be very cost competitive as far as the Chinese manufacturers are concerned. Another company out there is John Cockerell, that we can look at. So these are some of the two important names that come to mind.
Okay, let's also spell out some of the key challenges that the industry renewable space still are facing and which need to be addressed probably sooner than later by the government. What is your own expectation, Vinit, when it comes to the renewable energy space? Where exactly does the government need to step the pedal sooner?
See, I think, if you really want to up the game, they should have a balance between manufacturing capacity that is coming up for solar cells domestically, as well as ensuring that, solar cells are available at a reasonable value in terms of imports. So we need to, if you want to drive Atmanirbharta plus have, the rollout sticking to the plan, then, you need to really go all out and support the uh, domestic manufacturers. And if you feel that realistically that capacities are not getting available, then I think the duty should be dropped on imports of wafer, and let the imports come in, because the imports are really, really cheap.
Okay, got that. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Vinit, for being with us on this very special edition, helping us really understand the 360-degree view of how to really look at the renewables opportunity ahead of investors. And of course, right ahead of the budget, looking at valuations as well. What is the right approach and which are the key kind of stocks that one should be really looking at adding to their portfolio? Many thanks for being with us and truly appreciate your presence as always on Business Today. All right, viewers, we'll wrap it up at that. This was the discussion on the renewable energy space and whether this could be on top radar and top focus of the budget this time around. And of course, whether that brings in for you enough and more opportunities to dip into. Slew of stocks that have been discussed by Vinit, but please do speak to your own financial advisor before speaking to and before investing your own money into these particular stocks. Many thanks for tuning in.
On the 5th of May, the NEET examination was conducted in 3 schools in Bahadurgarh city in Haryana. The Hardeal Public School, SR Century School and the Vijay Senior Secondary School. What happened at these centers on that day has left the students stressed and worried. Owing to some confusion and communication gap, 2 different sets of question papers were distributed to the students of these 3 centers. But only the candidates who took the examination at Hardeal Public School got the grace marks. So what exactly happened that day? And who is responsible for the goof up in the distribution of 2 sets of question papers? R.M. Kindra, the chairperson of Vijay Senior Secondary School, explained.